What's up, y'all? This is Revolutionary Fitness Radio, episode 5. Welcome to another episode of Revolutionary Fitness Radio. I'm your host, Sean Garcia, and this is the podcast dedicated to bringing health, fitness, and wellness to the people. Our goal, empowering you all to understand your body, treat it well, and give you the tools to become an agent of change in your community through helping others. Let's move together.
Check it out, you got me mesmerized with your black hair and your fat ass style. Street poetry is my everyday, but yo, I gotta stop when you drop my weight. If I was working at the club, you would not pay. Hey yo, my man Fife Diggy, he got something to say.
I like him brown, yellow, Puerto Rican, or Haitian. Name is Fife.
We want to thank you all for joining us again on Revolutionary Fitness Radio. Really appreciate everyone who has been tuning in and who has been subscribing. It's been really awesome so far. This is our 5th installment, and we've gotten great reception and some really good feedback for the show. So I want to thank you all for, just being here, listening, being fans, sharing it with your friends, and we encourage you to continue doing so if you already are doing it. And if you haven't, please, share the show with your friends on Facebook, on Twitter, different social media avenues. Please go to iTunes or Zune or whatever service you're using to listen to the podcast and go ahead and put a rating up for the show. The more ratings and reviews that we have for our show increases the popularity on the different, podcast libraries. So when people are looking for podcasts related to health and fitness, they'll be able to spot our show, which would be really great to spread the message and to share all this information with more and more people. So if you were listening to the last episode, we announced that we were going to be putting out our winter schedule on December 1st. And if you're listening to the show right now, we're coming out on December 4th or 5th, I think this show gets launched. So we actually have pushed back our date on releasing our winter schedule because there's 2 other venues that we're trying to solidify before we fully launch our schedule. The classes that are already set, like the classes that we already have venues or we already have participants, those are already happening. So if you're in a class, talk to the instructor, make sure it's happening every week. But there is no delay or layover rather on any of those classes. But all the new classes that we're going to be offering in the winter schedule, all of them will be up and running by December 15th. So about a week and a half from today. And of course, these are classes that we're offering in New York City. If you're not in New York City and you want to, participate in similar work that we're doing, please feel free to contact us, and maybe we can put you in connection with some people in your city that are doing similar work, or we can get you rolling and kind of get you, setting up some kind of boot camp in your neighborhood or something like that. So definitely reach out to us. And so with our new schedule, just continuously check in, on social media, and on December 15th, you'll see, leading up to that date, a bunch of announcements and, pictures of our schedule and all that good stuff. So everybody's in the know of when our classes and where they're happening. Other thing that's going on right now, we've announced is our People's Trainer School. The new semester is coming up. So again, our People's Trainer School is a 6-week intensive program where you'll learn all the, science behind exercise, kinesiology, behind anatomy, behind nutrition. You'll learn all the ins and outs of the science behind it. And that can get you prepped either to become a certified personal trainer if you wish to pursue a career or a part-time job in that area of work, or it could just get you really well-rounded in understanding health, fitness, and nutrition so that you can better your fitness level or your loved ones or your family members, community members, all that good stuff. So definitely check out our website to find out more information on the People's Trainer School. Our first class is on December 14th. And the early bird registration is over at the time of this airing of this show. But if you're having any difficulties with registration because of money, please contact us directly and we can try to work something out, maybe some kind of work study or some kind of discount based off of your income, or if you're a student or whatever. We don't want people to be deterred because they can't afford it. We're trying to make it as accessible as possible to people. That's what Revolutionary Fitness is about. We're not about making money off of this information, but rather we're about sharing this information with as many people as possible, empowering those who are really interested posted and getting the message of health and fitness and wellness shared around the world. So please email us directly. The other thing is that we recently wrapped up our Instagram RevFit Yoga Challenge. It was a great success. It really increased our popularity on Instagram. We had tons of people who participated in the challenge, and it was really cool to see all the different pictures of people from, all walks of life, all fitness levels, all shapes and sizes, all from all across the country, really, posting up their images of a particular pose and, really just encouraging one another to develop a more regular yoga practice and to just live a healthier lifestyle. We are putting out the announcement for the RevFit Yoga Challenge winners this weekend. So if you're listening again in early December, you'll be able to see in a couple days on our social media avenues who the winner is, and you'll see all the prizes that go out. So definitely check in for that. And of course, we want everybody to check out all the stuff that we're doing on our website. So go to revolutionaryfitness.org. That's revolutionaryfitness.org. You can also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/RevFitNYC. That's RevFit NYC. On Instagram and on Twitter, also RevFit NYC. And if you want to check out my personal blog, that's SeanGarcia.com, Sean SHAWN Garcia.com, and my handle on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is Sean RevFit, SHAWN Check me out. Thanks.
All right, it's going down like this right here. You push, you pay. You know what I'm saying? Everything counts. The trips you pay double. Keep your back straight and count them out loud. Come on, come on. 50 in the crib, get big, get big. 50 in the crib, get big, get big.
So today's episode is actually part 2 of a 3-part series that we're doing. And if you're just joining us on the series, we're doing a series on yoga for social change. And so, specifically what we're talking about in this 3-part series is, not only how yoga can be transformative for the individual, participants in the class, really changing people's understandings of their body, understanding of their connection to their mind, body, and spirit, but really how yoga can be utilized and how it already is being utilized to transform communities and to bring about social change on the micro level and on a macro level. And so this 3-part series is really addressing, different ways that it is already affecting our society and how yoga can be utilized going forward to really bring about some change. Our guests today are Leah Gallegos and Quan Madrid, who are the co-founders of People's Yoga. And People's Yoga was founded back in September of 2012, so a little bit over a year ago. And their mission was really, and they'll talk more in depth about this, their mission was providing yoga to the east side of Los Angeles, which is a low-income, underdeveloped community, and really, somewhere where yoga wasn't really being provided. So they initially found out about us through an article I wrote on my personal blog on decolonizing yoga. And so they sent me an email, thanking me for writing the article and giving me some feedback on the article, and then pointed me to the work that they were doing. And on further investigation, when I looked into what People's Yoga was doing, it was almost exactly what RevFit was doing over on the East Coast in New York. So not only were they founded in a similar way, but they were similar practice, thought process behind why they were utilizing, yoga and health and fitness to bring about some change. So it was really exciting to see that, all the work they were doing over here was manifesting in Los Angeles, and I'm sure it is across the country. So, we love connecting with people who are doing similar work. So we're very excited to have Leah and Lauren on the show today and really hear about what they're doing with People's Yoga and what they have planned for 2014. So what's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Hello. We're excited to be here.
Cool. So excited to have you guys on here. And we're just going to jump right into some questions. And I'll start with Leah. And the first question we kind of ask everybody who comes onto our show is how you personally got into fitness and yoga specifically.
So, hello, everybody. Nice to be here. So I got into fitness at a very young age. I actually grew up playing soccer. So when I was 5, I started playing soccer, and it turned out that I was pretty good at soccer. So I ended up playing through high school, club soccer, college, and a little bit of semi-professional soccer as well. But at some point, as most women, female athletes do, I got an ACL injury, so I tore my ACL. And then that kind of flipped the script for me. And that's when soccer started to fade away. And I was looking for another type of physical activity to kind of fill that void. And I used to take yoga with my grandma. So at some point, I decided to try yoga again on my own. And I initially it was a nice practice. I liked the physical aspects of it. But a little while after, I started to realize that it was a lot deeper than just the physical activity. That there was this other dynamic of awareness and attention to the self that really kind of blew my mind. That's where I started to become a yoga addict. That's my story.
That's awesome. Lauren, how did you get into it?
Oh, thank you for having me. My story is somewhat similar to Leah's. I actually played volleyball throughout high school. I played high school and club and intramural in college, and that was my way into fitness, to health, to weights, to cardio training, was through competitive volleyball. And then when I graduated from college, I just tried it out. I was like, hey, let me try yoga. And my very first experience, I took it at a major studio, and I won't name names, but it was actually not a very good experience. It was a really fast-paced class, and I probably went to the wrong class, honestly, but it was really fast, and it was just very intimidating. And so I was like, no, I don't want to do it. But then I started to go to yoga classes at my local YMCA, and it was a really great teacher there who made it accessible to me, and it was so much fun. And I enjoyed it. And I think taking yoga in a community setting was crucial for me to start developing a deeper practice. I initially was attracted to the stronger vinyasa flow type classes, but then once I started getting connected to myself, to my breathing, I realized that there was so much value in slowing down and getting to know myself through more meditative classes. And so now I enjoy the full spectrum. But I have to say the flow attracted me, and the meditation made me stay.
Yeah, I have a similar experience. I think I wouldn't have been ready for the meditative portion of yoga and that practice if I hadn't been introduced through the physical. And it might be different for others, but I remember, if you would have sat me down and tried to get me to zone out and meditate and relax my thoughts, there was no way I was gonna do it. A couple of years ago. Yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is super boring. Why are people umming, and what is this? What are they reading? Why are these white people reading some Indian Sanskrit? And so I was like, this is all weird. This is like cultish. And so I was very attracted to the physical part of it, and getting challenged on that level. And of course, it broke me down eventually to the point where I was able to be more receptive to the mind body relaxation stuff. So, you guys, similar experience. You guys kind of went through competitive sports and then moved into yoga at a later time in your life. So how do you guys feel it's different from, being in competitive sports to yoga? What's the biggest difference? And is there, value over one over the other?
I think for me, yoga is a very personal practice. But it also, I think it's very similar in a lot of ways, right? Because you have this very personal practice, this very individual kind of concept. But then that grows into the bigger community or the bigger team, right? So you're not only practicing this thing with yourself, but then you're also learning and developing with whoever's surrounding you. I think physically yoga, though, yoga really helped develop, and especially with my injury, it helped me recover, and I was stronger once I did yoga. I was stronger and faster on the soccer field. and more healthy. So I felt that physically right away. I actually started playing semi-professional soccer after I started doing yoga. And it was definitely because of yoga that I was able to get back in shape. And I was faster than I was, before at my earlier age and probably my prime. So that's been the difference for me.
It's good. I mean, I think a lot of people think as a step back to move away from, like, for instance, I'm thinking about, the athletes I work with, the clients I work with who are focused on strength and performance and who kind of see, spending too much time and effort on, flexibility, meditation, all that stuff, yoga, as a waste of time. But rather you're saying that it's complementary and actually takes you to new heights, makes you stronger, makes you more powerful if you have this practice in your life. That's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a very common assumption to think that yoga isn't for like the stronger and the fitter. But yeah, I think that it definitely will take you to new heights if you're an athlete already or if you want to be an athlete. Because yoga isn't just about flexibility, but it combines strength with flexibility. So you're taking your hamstrings and your calves and, like very important muscle groups to a new level.
And I would have to say, this is Lauren, I would have to say for me, doing volleyball, it was always about jumping higher. It was always about getting more kills, more blocks, more passes. And it became like where you're just always trying to improve, and you're reaching these goals, which are great goals to have. It's great to measure yourself by this progress you're making, and it's fun and it feels good. But where yoga has challenged me is that my teachers challenged me to learn to be okay with where I'm at. And that is like a fundamental change in the way I look at sports, competitive sports, and society in general. It's always about getting better and improving and some end goal that we're all reaching for. And so my teachers would tell me, you're perfect just the way you are. You can't touch your toes. It's okay. You're perfect just the way you are. And that was like, what? I'm perfect the way I am? Like, I have to work through my hamstrings, so I can't touch my toes because that's what I've been taught my whole life. Touch your toes, and do it like this. And so for me, like, I agree with everything with what Leah said about, yoga helping your physical performance, but it's also a shift in the mind to learn to be present. And, that wasn't taught to me in competitive sports. So I would like to go play competitive sports with that mentality now and see how I do,
That'd be dope.
I don't know.
For sure. So, Lauren, how did you guys meet? And I saw on your website that you guys were just having a convo in the park, and that was kind of what was the catalyst behind founding People's Yoga. So how did you guys meet, and what was your thought process in those early days when you guys were thinking about founding this project?
Sure. So actually, Leah and I met many years ago through a soccer collective. So we met outside of yoga. We met playing soccer with a collective called Futbolistas. We're based out of Southern California. And long story short, we meet every week. We've been meeting for 10 years, more or less. Different groups have come in and out to play recreational co-ed soccer. But long story short, it's founded out of anti-imperialist ideology out of the Bay Area and about getting activists together to be healthy, a lot like RevFit, but, with soccer as the main unifying force. So we actually met in that space. We met playing soccer on every Sunday, just going out, hanging out, playing, getting to know people.
Wait. So what does soccer have to do with anti-imperialist politics? Can you break that down? How did you guys make that connection?
Well, let's see. So I think the Futbolista space was actually created in the Bay. So we're going to diverge just slightly. It was created in the Bay Area. The group is called Left Wing Football Club, and that started in 2003. And it was anarchists versus communists who were playing soccer for fun, but also, just kind of like to kind of see who would be better. But from there, a really fierce woman said, we got to be active. And so she really called folks to come and play soccer, and I believe it was in Oakland or in Piedmont, and they started playing. And why they chose soccer, because soccer is world, and it is probably the only sport with the lowest barrier to entry, right? All you need is a ball. You don't even need shoes. And so it became like symbolic for the struggles throughout the world, where all these communities, oppressed communities, developing countries, underdeveloped countries, play soccer and excel and grow community, and it's a beautiful thing. And so the Futbolistas have been doing this for 10 years here in LA, about 10 years, and we met in that space.
That's
and
really
it
cool.
continues to happen every Sunday.
Really
so it's a whole other story. You can write books on this kind of stuff. But through those class, through our hanging out and just becoming friends, we were like, hey, when we go through yoga, and then we started inviting each other to yoga classes. Go see this yoga teacher, go to see this yoga teacher, and then we just kind of kept going to yoga together. And then from there, we were just like, wait a minute, like we're traveling to all these other neighborhoods for yoga. Why don't we have yoga here in our neighborhood where we grew up? I'm from Boyle Heights. Leah's from Highland Park, and there are east, northeast neighborhoods where, generally there's no yoga. Highland Park's another story. It's gentrifying really fast, but Boyle Heights and East LA is an area where there is no yoga studios anywhere. So it was in that quest to like, hey, we need to bring this to our community. Why do we have to pay so much and travel so far to do yoga? It's not right. Let's do something about it. And within that spirit, we decided, let's do it.
So I'll jump back to Leah. Why do you think there's such an issue of lack of access in the communities I speak, and not specifically to things like yoga?
I mean, I think in general, there's communities that lack access in a lot of healthy alternatives. So the East Side being one of those communities, we're somewhat of a desert as far as having access to healthy food, healthy practices, and even access to information, right, of how to have this healthy lifestyle, how to live this healthy lifestyle. And so we both grew up in communities where there are no yoga studios, there are no, very little farmers markets or, health food stores. And so for us, we were fortunate at an older age to be able to take yoga and to have that experience. And so we really feel like it's up to us, like up to the people, right? Like the people already contain all of the power to create the kind of community that we want. And so it's really up to us to create that world that we want to live in, the world that we wish to see. And so that's what we're doing with the People's Yoga.
That's awesome. So what do you say to the people who say that, there is a bunch of, people can get healthy if they want to. There's a bunch of free information online. People can travel to different neighborhoods. It's not that big a deal. Why is it that in underdeveloped communities, chronic disease, obesity, all these things are plaguing us? Why isn't there some personal responsibility going on in these communities? What would you say to those folks? Any of you can answer. Go for it.
I would say that, there's elements of each, right? So I think it's up to us individually to make changes in our lives for whatever we want, whatever our goals are. And if it's improving our health, it is up to, to an extent, an individual to make that goal, to make that step. And it has to start within. You have to want to make that change in order for anything else to happen. But I think the argument that it's the bootstraps theory, it's all they, that one person should lift themselves up out of it, I think that it's a flawed argument because of our history of oppression and people of color in this country over, hundreds of years, right? So when we look at the East Side, for instance, East LA, and the East Side is a big, broad area, but we're generally talking about unincorporated East LA, Boyle Heights, which is a neighborhood, and the surrounding areas. And if you look at, you can Google it right now. If you look at East LA, you'll see that we have 5 freeways surrounding us. And people in East LA didn't ask for those freeways. It was the city planners of the 1950s and 60s who bulldozed their way in to put the freeways in to get the commuters to come through to downtown to work. So you look at parks. It wasn't the people who said we don't want parks. It was, again, the city planners or the politicians who, basically didn't plan for parks in these neighborhoods. And so what we see is a real unequal distribution of healthy spaces like parks, grocery stores, and an abundance of freeways. And so when we have all that together, and then we have generations of people growing up in this way, where it's like it's just normal, And I remember I used to say, "Oh yeah, I live in Boyle Heights. I'm near any freeway. I can get to LA in 20 minutes because I'm near every freeway." It was like almost like a pride thing. It was like, yeah, that's cool because in LA we drive, we have to. And then as I got older, I was like, wait a minute, this is a horrible thing, I'm bringing this stuff in every day. And so it was this shift in thought, like, wait a minute, that's not right, So I think kind of going back to your question, when we're looking at health in our communities, that's just one component, is that individuals, sure, we need to say we want to change, but at the same time, our communities through policies, through housing development policies, through racist laws, have really put us in certain areas for generations. And although we can, yes, move up and move out, there's still that legacy because our people are still in these areas where no one wants to be. Boyle Heights is also right next to industry, right, the city of Vernon, which is full of industry. And Boyle Heights is fighting right now this, battery recycling plant. And it just came out that, there's tons of, carcinogens in the air. And that's been going on for 10, 20, 30 years, right? So there's inherent challenges for people of color, working-class communities in certain neighborhoods in L.A. We're very segregated in many respects, and we don't have access to the healthy options. Organic food being one, farmers markets, farmland in general. So,
I think my experience growing up, I grew up in East Harlem, which is was, it's being gentrified now, but, was predominantly Black and Latino, low income and all that stuff. And I remember growing up being resentful towards my neighborhood and having this feeling of, why don't people just get their acts together? Why do people allow themselves to be in these conditions? Why are people making these bad food choices? And I think that's very common. I think you can go on anyone's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter feeds or whatever and see all this anger that people have towards one another. And there is a sense of, personal obligation that, you should be trying to better yourselves, but there are clear things that are holding us down and putting us in a situation where healthy choices aren't an option, right? When I got older and I had all this consciousness now and I knew all the healthy stuff and I'm living in the same neighborhood and I go to try to find something to eat and then I go to my local supermarket and there's just rotting produce and I try to go to the local yoga studio and the prices are just way, way, way out of my, affordability. These things are serious issues. So, I could go on, to YouTube and find a bunch of cool videos. I could, go travel 5 miles to go to a farmer's market and get some fresh produce. But, it's making that even harder for me. And then I'm someone who's not, I'm not making a lot of money. I'm still low income. I'm still trying to make ends meet. So now, I have to travel outside of my means and, spend more money and, take time away from work or family. And these things become very crippling kind of things if you're dealing with, a situation where, you have 5 family members in a household and all these kind of things. Mm-hmm. So that's the context, behind people's yoga, I'm sure. And so you guys were, coming from this background of consciousness and looking to make some change in East LA. So why yoga? Why did you guys think yoga would be something that would be good to start bringing into the neighborhood?
That's a great question. Going back, a few different reasons. I think going back to what Lauren was saying is, we're surrounded by freeways and we're also surrounded by liquor stores. Every corner there's a liquor store. If you search, one time I did a search for yoga on the east side and a link came up and I think it said the 5 top yoga studios on the east side or maybe in the top 10. And I got a little excited. I was like, what? There's yoga studios on the east side. Cool. And I clicked on it, and it was Pasadena and Echo Park and Silver Lake. And these are kind of central LA. Some people consider them those areas east side. But those are very gentrified, privileged areas, right? And so when you look at the east side, there's a hole. There's literally like a hole of no yoga, no healthy food. You know, I even have sometimes Googled Whole Foods in the area, and there's this big circle around the east side of LA. So in addition to that, Lauren and I have just both had a personal connection with the practice. We believe that it's a transformational practice in many, many different areas, the physical, the emotional, and then beyond. And we believe that if we can offer these practices and similar practices to the people of our neighborhoods, of our communities, that we can begin to also transform not only our personal lives, but beyond our individual lives, so we can change our communities with yoga practices and other similar practices.
And I would have to say that in LA, the South LA, South Central, another area, you could say that everything we said about the East Side, you can say about the South Side too. So we're just from the East Side, and so that's where we focused our efforts. But, you know, you can see this everywhere throughout LA, this disparity. But another thing I think that brought us to yoga is that, you know, when I would used to go to yoga, and I would get really upset because I would see all these, like, older women doing yoga, and it was great. It was beautiful. I was like, they don't look like my grandma. They don't look like my aunts and my mom. That's just, you know, and that was another thing that would make me so mad, right? It was a justice issue. It's like, this is not right. This is not just. So I think when we said, let's do yoga, it's because our grandmas can do it, you know? And it is good for the joints, and it will help people who have limited mobility. So I think when we saw, like, who could do yoga, well, everyone can do it. So that was another reason, like, this is a unifying practice that we can bring multiple generations in, Spanish, English, you know, chair-bound people who can walk, like the whole gamut to do yoga. So that was another reason.
Very cool. So I saw one of the comments on my article on the blog that you guys are, or the forum that you guys are part of, saying something about, you know, why does it matter if people don't look like you in the classroom or in the setting or at school? You know, if you're on your yoga mat, it is very individual, and you can zone out and you can have your own practice. You know, what do you guys think about that argument that it shouldn't matter, you know, what others look like in the room?
You want to go here, or?
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, it shouldn't matter, but it does. And, you know, when you go to a studio, you know, when I go to a studio, I know my way around. I can get on my mat, and I can do my practice, and then I can leave. I've had that privilege, and I've accessed it, and I know how to use it. But what's special about people's yoga in particular is that we offer low-cost classes in community spaces. We teach in a very non-dogmatic, non-competitive way. And what's very special about our classes is that people come in, and they don't just sit on their mat and go inwards. They're actually talking to their neighbors. And people are meeting each other for the first time, or they're like, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. Like old friends, they're seeing each other at the yoga class. And so I think when we see that, what we're seeing is there's this bigger connection that yoga can make by offering yoga that is accessible. People can connect in different ways. And the community that grows out of that is flourishing. And who knows what that could be. You know, and so it's been a very beautiful thing. And I know I'm talking about people's yoga in specific, but seeing that has been just like, this is why it's good to know your neighbors. This is why you should feel comfortable in yoga class, because all the power or all the energy that can be created if you just talk to the person on your left or talk to the person on your right. I think normal yoga studios don't really emphasize that. You know, they're just like, hey, we're going to offer this practice, come and do it. And we do it, and it's great. But it's just a completely different environment, you know, where there's just no emphasis on that. So I'll stop there.
I think too, for a lot of the people that are part of People's Yoga, this is their first time having a yoga experience, right? And so I think that's a big factor that that People's Yoga is essentially introducing yoga to the people of the East Side. So it's kind of empowering to give people yoga, but not just give it to them and offer it to them in one specific way, but to say this yoga is for you and to give them the power to develop, their own personal practice in whichever way suits them. And I think that's what we are very intentional about doing as an organization, as a project, is that we're not just trying to bring this yoga that we found in Silver Lake, for example. We're bringing a yoga that's relative to the people of the East Side, that's relative to our story, that's relative to our bodies, that's relative to what we experience as a people.
Mm. And I think, my first yoga class, the teacher was a young white woman, and I loved the class, and I loved her as a teacher, and, there's nothing, we're not saying anything against that, but it would have been so much more different. My experience would have been so much more different if it was a Latin dude that looked like me teaching the class. I think, there's just something different about that, especially like you said, if you're first being introduced to these, to this modality, it's very good to be comforted by knowing that people who look like you and come from the same place that you come from are doing this and can make these, kind of transformations, and that you're embarking on a journey with your community. Something that we've done recently with RevFit is, we're in 2014, we're doing a lot of big shifts in our organization. And so we wanted to fine tune who we were catering our business to. And this is something that almost every business does, right? Or any business that's really trying to be successful is think about who your client is, right? And so we broke down who we cater to, who our average, what the average age is and all that kind of stuff. And we came out with individual. Her name is Sonia. Sonia's not a real person, but Sonia is, so she's Latina. She's from a low-income community. She's in her mid-30s. She's not in the worst shape, but, she doesn't have access or work out regularly. She makes, she's low-income. She's a parent. She has a family that she's providing for. She has time limitations, all these kind of things. So everything that we do it so that we know we have Sonia in the back of our heads. So when we design our classes, when we, pick the time slots for our classes, the neighborhood that we're holding our classes, when we do our marketing material, we have Sonia in mind. When we, for instance, our instructors, we're very mindful of who our instructors are. We're very mindful of the images that we're putting out on, for instance, on social media. If we post a picture, we're not going to post a picture of a bunch of white girls. We're going to post a picture of a bunch of Sonias. And so, this is something that we're doing. And so the businesses that we're talking about, these mainstream big business, in affluent community yoga studios, fitness studios, they're doing the same thing. And they're catering to someone a little bit different. You guys want to describe what they might be catering to?
Sure. We're catering to Sonia too.
Yeah.
In LA, the LA version of Sonia, that's largely our demographic as well. No, that's a really great visualization. I would say that the mainstream studios generally in Los Angeles, they're catering more to a creative professional, white woman, probably with no children, and maybe a spouse, but with the job, with a full-time job. And I would say that, the expendable income, not having kids, having, someone who cares about their health as well. So, all of those factors, it's a different market. You're right. The yoga studios generally in LA, their main demographic is someone who has money, and who cares about their health and doesn't have kids.
Yeah.
I would say that's a huge one. And then from there, it can go on. Those with kids, but with expendable income. Baby boomers with expendable income. So it really is, because yoga here in LA is anywhere between $20 to $35 for one class. It's catering to people who can pay for that. Primarily women, primarily white women, generally.
Cool.
And this you can Google too. As we're kind of trying to go towards opening a full-time business, we've been researching our marketing, our tons of research, so that we are aware of what's out there. And I mean, if you Google it, the yoga market, it'll pretty much spell out that it's a young female, generally Caucasian with money. It's pretty spelled out online.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there's, I mean, not that we're not trying to reach those folks too, but the emphasis of where our energy is placed and the understanding of the dynamics of oppression in this, in this country, we're taking those things into account, because, we're not promoting like some prejudice against folks who, from different backgrounds, but rather, trying to provide service to those who are oppressed, the most in need, and, from our communities. So, so we're gonna go more into. We're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, we're gonna talk more about specifically what you guys have done with People's Yoga in the past year and what you guys have planned for 2014. We'll be right back. right, guys, we're back. So we're again joined by Lauren and Leah from People's Yoga, and we've been talking about kind of, why, how they got into yoga practice, why they, what was the kind of foundation behind founding People's Yoga. But now we want to talk about specifically what they've done in the past year and change since they got founded back in September of 2012. So let's talk about, how you guys function as a project. How do you guys have classes? Do you have a venue? How much are you charging? Things like that.
So when we began, our initial thought was just to get out there, just to start offering yoga. So we started with a 5-week series. We partnered with an organization that Lauren was a part of called ELAC, and we launched a 5-week series. And that 5-week series was really successful. So we decided to keep it going. And since then, we've builded to offer more weekly classes throughout the community, and then also to partner with local schools and organizations to offer a very specific curriculum-based yoga series to those organizations. So right now we're offering 6 weekly classes throughout the East Side. We have classes in Boyle Heights, Downey, Little Tokyo, and Eagle Rock. We're there. We're at each location once a week, offering a variety of different styles or levels. We charge $5 donation, 5 to 10, call it donation based, and then no one's turned away for lack of funds. Anything you want to add, Lauren?
I would have said that when we first started, we were donation based, pure donation based. And so that was a good trial and error. And then a few months into it, we said, okay, we have to charge $5, or at least put that price, give our service a value. And so from there, we became officially a $5 price. But yeah, it's been a really beautiful process. We've actually worked with various different partners for our weekly classes, and we've been in our current groove through the summer of offering and partnering with the people that we do partner with right now. And for our larger partners, we've done workshops at conferences, at festivals, at a workplace, a nonprofit workplace retreat. So we're kind of like, we get asked. We don't really push those components, but people ask us, can you come and do a yoga session? Can you come and lead a workshop? And then we did a 10-week series at a high school in East LA, after school yoga. So, it's been really beautiful. And that's been really great, is that we just started putting ourselves out there. And all of a sudden we got all the calls. And that was very telling, because we were like, wow, we don't even have to push. They're coming to us because there is such a need, or there is such a, there is a demand for yoga on the East Side. Mm-hmm. And it's evident in just how popular, our Facebook and how people were calling us and willing to, and wanted us to be there. So that was one component as well.
So I'm kind of interested, and this is kind of from, like a selfish business perspective. You guys, do you guys get paid? Do you guys make money off of People's Yoga?
At the moment, we probably reimburse ourselves for gas.
So you guys have full-time jobs outside of this?
We do some side work. The plan is that, as we move towards opening a full-time yoga studio, that we are both paid in a sustainable way, so that we can live just basic lives. Right now we both do side work. Lauren does some consulting work, and then I'm also a musician. So we do have other forms of income at the moment, but the idea is that as we grow into a business, we find a price for the yoga classes that is still low cost and accessible for the people, but also sustains our teachers who are providing the classes.
So basically for the past 15, 16 months, you guys haven't really been making an income off of this. So which is something that we can relate to, of course, with RevFit. We've been doing this for 3.5 years, and just recently started getting a little bit of income for some of our staff. And I think you guys will have great success, because people identify, the selflessness and the service that you're providing the community, and will contribute to that, and I think will want you to have a good, make a good living so that you guys can continue to spread this project. So that's very exciting. But I wondered, did you guys have, or do you continuously have hurdles because you weren't getting paid? And also, were people initially receptive to it? Because, I from our experiences, a lot of people see something for free or for low cost and think less value. Was that something you guys ran into?
Mm-hmm. What's been beautiful, and I think our yogic training has helped us, is that we really have to trust the process. We're going to put our work in, and we're going to put everything in it, but we have to trust the process of how it will unfold. And I know for me that's a big test too, to not want something to happen right away, or I want it to happen right away, but how to trust that it will happen as we put the work in and as it unfolds. So being that we do this on a volunteer basis for the most part, it has been, it's been a beautiful journey of just kind of like pushing and or effort and surrender this whole way through. And so that is, that can be a hurdle for the normal sense of the business startup. Usually you want to go right away and real fast, but through this process of putting effort in and then seeing how it goes, we've also are simultaneously offering classes and growing this community. And so it's the best part about it, is that we're continuing to grow and foster this community of Eastsiders that do yoga. That's one side of your question. And then the second part of your question, sorry, was
the question, the other part was, did you guys initially have hurdles like attracting people to your classes because they were free and low cost?
I think initially, I don't think so. I think yoga is not on the east side. And so I think people are really like, what? It's yoga, And we said $5. They're like, oh, okay. And we try to, and there's yoga in gyms. I don't know or the gyms that do offer yoga. It is there, but, there's no concentrated yoga studio on the east side. Right. But I think for a lot of people who we're introducing yoga to, they didn't have any problems with paying $5 if they could pay, right? They didn't think that it was a low or too cheap or anything like that. But it's because they're introducing it. I think if we try to offer $5 yoga in a more gentrifying area, they might look at it and say, wait, no, that's too cheap. What are you doing? Maybe you're doing something that's not real, or I don't know, something like that. But I think that introducing yoga and also being like, hey, it's pay what you can, and really an open door policy about that. And we're really not, it's a big jar. People put the money in and we don't watch, they just do it. And so I think that honesty is also what helps to cultivate people understanding the value of this, and also that we're there for those who can afford it and for those who may not be able to afford it right now and maybe need a little bit of time to get things in order to start paying.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, we've had a similar experience over here. I mean, we want to be able to have full-time staff so that we can be better at marketing and spreading our message and provide more educational tools on our website, and, have people who can make a full-time effort to, getting information out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that kind of stuff. And all that stuff is really important. We want our staff to be paid for giving the classes that they deliver. But we also identified that, that was not where our income was going to come from. Our income wasn't going to come from charging people excessive prices and all that kind of stuff, but rather, providing the services, making it accessible to folks. And then, those who can provide a little bit more, provide a little bit more. And, and a big lesson for us as an organization was understanding that asking for help to spread this message and to expand on this service is something that you have to do. People have to know that we are in this as a community, and we're doing this and we're building this organically ourselves. And it takes everybody's effort, energy-wise, financially to some degree. It takes everybody's effort, in this to make it achievable, because we are oppressed and we are being held back socio-economically, and we can't provide these services and we can't have all these cool things in our neighborhoods just by wishing them. We have to work for them, and unfortunately odds are against us, so we have to work twice as hard. So it's really great to hear that you guys took your yoga practice and it gave you some educational tools to get you through the initial stages of business, because that can be very stressful for folks. So with your classes, what have you guys seen? What kind of successes have you seen? Not only in terms of individuals making progress in their yoga practice, not only in terms of, people being introduced to yoga, but what has it done for East LA?
Like I was talking about earlier, for many of our students, they're trying yoga for the first time. So I think it's really offered this new sort of practice, almost like another tool, right? So it's offered another tool to our community. But it's also, the People's Yoga has built its own community of yogis, and very unique yogis. We look different, we talk different, and we're all coming to this space for the same sort of vision, the same sort of quest, right? To seek health and wellness. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think, and I want to stand on the shoulders of the yoga teachers who have been sharing yoga in the East Side before Leah and I came along, and I think that what People's Yoga is doing slightly different is that we have technology and social media and also a shared vision to kind of make this a more concentrated effort. So there has been very grassroots yoga on the East Side by a few teachers here and there. And they're to me, more the pioneers. They really did it first. But we're taking social media, we're taking our other networks, and we're adding a different twist on it. And to show that, like, people in East LA and the East Side do yoga, and we want to do it near our house. We don't want to travel 10 miles to a yoga studio, and I think that little by little, social media, as we grow by word of mouth, and as we, get the studio going, we're adding another tool to health and wellness, to healing on the East Side. And, there's people who run, there's people who do sports, we do all kinds of stuff out here, but now yoga is there too. It's an option for those who want to try it out.
And so when people start practicing yoga, running, whatever, do you think it has an effect on their engagement in the social processes in their community?
I think when it's intentionally crafted, and I think with People's Yoga, we are intentionally creating a space where all kinds of people can come together. We are trying to create a space where people can engage with their community through yoga. And I think, going to the gym, great workout, you can go do that, but it's not the same message crafting. There's not that same community that's being built. And I think what People's Yoga is doing is we're saying, hey, you can get the workout, you can calm your mind down from all the craziness in your life, and you can build community all in the same place or all within the same in and around your neighborhood, with people in your community. So that's what's different. It's different than,
So paint a picture
going to
for
a
me.
big box gym.
Yeah. Paint a picture for me. So you guys have started painting the picture by talking about like how people talk and engage each other at your classes. But, give me a picture of how your classes look and how they might be different from some big box yoga classes.
Well, you walk into one of our classes, and you'll literally see people of all different colors, sizes, shapes, ages, abilities. I think that's one of the most unique things about People's Yoga and our spaces, right? So you'll see anything from a class that has a 75-year-old Japanese woman to a 16-year-old Chicana from East LA, and all practicing the same practice in one room. And I think that is the most unique thing about our space, because you don't see that very often in many yoga spaces. Sometimes our classes are filled with about 20 or 30 people. People interact before class, introduce themselves to each other, and kind of just take ownership of the space. to make it whatever they want it to be. And after class as well, people are just kind of building their own community in interacting and sharing stories and sharing the space.
And
people also get really close. People also get really close in our classes, which also isn't very common in a lot of yoga spaces. So it can be very personal, with everyone being so close to each other.
And I would say also, we primarily, our main demographic is women and Latinas or Chicanas. And so, we embrace each other. We hug each other. We give each other a kiss. Like, I don't kiss my yoga instructors, but in people's yoga classes, you will embrace your students or they will embrace you in ways that are, unique to the Chicano-Latino community in many ways, Another component is that, we play, depending on the class, but I play music in Spanish in my classes because I want to, and people relate to it, right? And so you never know what you're going to find in the classes that we're creating, music-wise, or, just another component is I play, like Tribe Called Red. They're Native American, First Nations people from Canada play this really, really great rhythmic drumming music, right? And so you're going to find in our classes we're taking our cultures and we're infusing it into this beautiful yogic practice. And that's also another component of what makes people's yoga unique and different.
That's really cool. That's really
and people
cool.
like it, and people keep coming back.
Yeah, we do some yoga classes with like hip hop and Afro Latino music and all that kind of stuff. And initially, when I first started doing it, I was thinking like, this is not going to work. This is like going to be too upbeat, or this is going to be too, different from what I'm traditionally used to. But then when I did it, I was like, yeah, it is different. It is different. That's important. But it has the same exact benefits. And it was doing, or even more benefits. And it was touching me in a different way. So having some hip hop playing in the background, yeah, I moved through some of my asanas a little quicker, or maybe, did some head bopping in the middle of a tree pose. But at the same time, I was making a deeper connection with my practice and feeling more connected to it. And I think that's something that's really exciting about what you guys are doing. So
we're also launching an Indiegogo campaign this week, and so we have like a 2 or 3 minute video with a lot of our students sharing their words and their stories in it. And so that video, too, explains a lot of what people's yoga is. And the stories are very common throughout the different experiences. So that video is also a good reference of what people's yoga looks like and sounds like and feels like.
Very dope. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I was just about to ask about it, so you kind of beat me to the punch. Right. But so before we get into talking about that announcement, I wanted to say that just from a personal experience and for those who are listening, it takes a lot to do this work. But people, People's Yoga, RevFit, NYC, we do this because we love it. We want to share it. And we love changing and impacting our communities in this kind of way. And so, all those are listening, really find ways to support the work that People's Yoga is doing, RevFit NYC is doing, so that we can really start expanding this stuff and start providing these services all across the city, the world, and really start spreading this message of, fitness justice, health justice, and all that good stuff. So let's talk about what you guys are trying to do in 2014, and specifically now with this announcement with the Indiegogo campaign. What are you guys looking to do?
So we are, we've been functioning as a project serving the community of East LA, or the east side of Los Angeles. And we've served over 500 women, men, elders, children, teens, adults, babies. And right now we're currently trying to make the leap from being a project to being a full-time community business. So we are hoping and planning to open a full-time community yoga studio somewhere in Los Angeles' east side, in the middle of of an area where there's little to no yoga available, and no yoga studios available. So we're launching a Indiegogo fundraiser campaign to help with our startup costs, so that we can open the doors and be the first yoga studio on the east side of Los Angeles.
Very, very exciting. So for those who don't know what Indiegogo is, can you break down what that is, how it works, and kind of what the pledge amounts look like and all that stuff?
So Indiegogo is an online fundraising service where you're able to kind of explain what your fundraiser campaign is all through the web. And then people can donate towards your campaign. And then those contributions, the financial contributions, will go towards perks. So we have perks that include classes, monthly passes, shirts, digital downloads. We've partnered also with some local service providers to also offer some perks that are such as massages, photography sessions, performance by Las Cafeteras, and other things. So not only are we kind of asking for the support of people in our quest to open the first yoga studio on the east side, but we're also giving you a gift in honor of your contribution and support.
It's very cool. So also, too, some of the components that people should know about Indiegogo is that, you make your pledge for whatever the amount is, however much you can contribute. And this is a very, it's crowdsourcing, fundraising is something that almost all of us are familiar with to some degree, right? You think about, if you're a churchgoer, you go to church on Sundays, they pass around the little basket. It's a little different because I don't want to directly relate fitness justice to health and health to the church. But, this idea of everybody contributing what they can to a bigger goal and really taking ownership of that goal. So, people thinking about a yoga studio in East LA, not Lauren and Leah's yoga studio, but our yoga studio. The people's yoga studio. And so that, I think, is a little bit different than, like a general business trying to raise money. But this is more so everybody put in what they can in to try to get this big goal of a community space that's fostering community development and all that good stuff. So also, too, go for it.
Yeah, I think that's right on the money, is that what we're trying to offer, we believe, is more than yoga, right? So we're not just your average yoga studio, but we're a community space. We're a space of wellness and health and transformation. And so not only are we using yoga as a tool for health and wellness, but we're expanding what yoga looks like and feels like. And we're doing it by the means of the people, right? You're right. It's not just Lauren and I. It's all of us.
Definitely. So, and also too, just the logistical stuff behind Indiegogo. You guys, what are you guys trying to raise? What's the time frame and the amount that you're trying to raise?
We have 60 days to raise $32,000.
Ooh, nice. That's gonna be easy. You guys should put the number higher. All right, so 32,000 in 60 days. So basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but someone makes a pledge to that 32,000. Maybe they pledge $5, maybe they pledge $500, maybe they pledge $5,000. And they make this pledge, and then at the end of the 60 days, if you reach that goal of 32,000, then you guys would receive the contributions from everybody. If you guys don't make the 32,000 in the 60 days, correct me if I'm wrong, but no one gets charged anything, right? So, like, for instance, if you raise only 29,000, which we know you're not going to, but let's say you did, everyone, nothing gets charged on anybody's card or anything like that, right?
We actually, there's an option to do flexible funding.
Oh, okay.
With Indiegogo. So we do, your pledge is your pledge. Whether we make our goal or not, we do get the funds. But the idea is that with the support of reaching our goal, at that point, then we can move forward with making this dream community yoga studio happen.
Very cool. Very cool. I didn't know they had that option, so that's really exciting to hear about.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you guys are gonna possibly raise like $50,000 to $100,000, which is really cool.
That's the plan.
Definitely. So, and do you guys have you what motivates you guys to think that this is even achievable?
Go for it, Lauren.
Do you guys have any fears, or do you have any fears that this might not happen? Let's be abstract.
I think we're motivated because from the very first day that we offered yoga classes under the name People's Yoga LA, we've had people come into our doors. And we're motivated because people keep coming and they keep bringing their friends, and the space just continues to grow. I think that we're also motivated because I know I could feel it. There's this shifting in our communities to focus on our health and our wellness and our healing. And I think People's Yoga, as we intend to be a space to provide that, it's going to align with this shift, with these shifts in our community to heal ourselves. And like Leah had mentioned earlier, we have everything we need to make that happen. We can do it within our communities. And we're just in time. We're creating this space. We're going out on a limb, and we're taking a bet that people are going to come into that door. When we open that studio, people are going to come in and they're going to like what we do. But it's there. It's in the making. We're constantly growing. People are realizing, opening their eyes that it's time to heal, and it's time to love ourselves. And it's time to accept ourselves. And little by little, it's happening. And I'm also motivated because, as we mentioned a few times, there are no yoga studios anywhere on the east side, and just from like the demographic data of that's pretty amazing that there's none, and so what we're doing is we're offering something that, in a very formal, structured way that the east side of LA hasn't seen yet. And so that alone is also very inspiring, to be able to offer this resource that is plentiful on the west side and is nowhere to be found on the east side, and to be able to say, no, we're providing this. And we're going to stay true to our mission of making this affordable in a convenient location and offering a variety of relevant classes to the people of our communities. So it's exciting.
That is super exciting. And also, too, I think there's obviously going to be contributions from our community to make this happen. But also, too, there's the means to reach out to other communities and people who want to support this effort. And,
Definitely.
So there'll be the $5, $10, coming from everybody, but there might be those contributions of $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 coming from areas that, might be a little bit more affluent. So that's an exciting prospect, too. With the Indiegogo, it actually gives the opportunity to share your goals, your desires, your passions, and have people from all around the world really contribute to that effort. So I think you guys have great success. You guys talked briefly about the video that will be on your Indiegogo campaign. Can you talk about those interviews and just give me like one or two examples of what people were saying about People's Yoga and their experience with you guys?
I'll give one, and then Lauren, you could give one.
Sure.
It was a really emotional day because we invited about 20 students of ours to come and help with the making of the campaign. And in doing so, we asked people personal questions about their experience, why they first came to People's Yoga, why they continue to come to People's Yoga, why they bring other people to People's Yoga. And I think for Lauren and I, when we started People's Yoga, we just kind of jumped in it with the best of our intentions, and we really had no expectations as far as the results. We just wanted to bring yoga to the people because we believed in yoga, and it was, it was our desire to just share it out of the goodness of our hearts. And so to be able to give ourselves the opportunity to hear others' stories and how yoga has impacted them, was so touching. And I think that was also motivation to go through with this campaign, because it's definitely scary to ask for $32,000. That's a scary ask. But I think hearing people's stories was motivation, that our community deserves this practice, that we deserve access, access and availability to this practice and to other similar types of practice. And I think that the story of our students just kind of claiming that they deserve yoga, and that now they finally have the opportunity to have it. I think that was the most common among all of our students, and that was the most touching to me.
Very cool.
Yeah, I would say another component, right on, what Leah just said, but, that we have a lot of adult children and parents who come to our classes as well. And they've expressed how it's affected their relationship and how mother-daughter or daughter and father, their relationships have grown and transformed. And some of them said that on camera and started to get emotional, because it has helped their relationship. It's helped now make, instead of, eating as a primary thing that brings our families together, but yoga and breathing as the thing that brings our families together. And it was beautiful, and I think that's what's unique about People's Yoga, is that we invite people to bring their parents, bring their baby boomer parents, bring your grandparents, we'll find a way for them to access this practice in a way where everyone can do it together. And that was another component, was people were, they're growing their relationships with their loved ones at classes through yoga.
Very cool.
Very beautiful.
So you guys are launching the 60-day campaign. It's super exciting. It's launching on today, the airing of the show, December 5th, right? So you guys have 60 days from this point. I just, I want to make I want to reach out to everyone who's listening. Obviously, we have tons of viewers or listeners rather from Los Angeles and California, and there's some obvious reasons why everyone should contribute to this effort and build this community space. But even those of our listeners who are in different parts of the country or even different countries altogether, if you can make a contribution, please do. We need to support more of this work. We need to support more of these venues and these spaces for our community, not only to do yoga, not only to build community, but really to change the landscape and the culture in this country and around the world, and really transform on a bigger level. And so you guys haven't gotten any pledges yet, right?
No.
You're launching right now.
Right.
Well, so I just want to say, everybody, please make a pledge when you can. We're going to have the link and all that stuff in our show notes. But from our organization to yours, RevFit, to People's Yoga, we want to pledge $500 and kind of just get it kick-started. So we're making that pledge to you guys. So, yeah. So let's just get it going, right? So $500, we're making that commitment to you guys, and we really support all the work that you guys are doing. So with that, let's how can people get in contact with you guys?
Wow.
Sean,
thank you.
No problem, no problem. Same mission, same goal, right?
Beautiful. Thank you, RevFit. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't even hear the question.
So the question is, how can people contact you guys? What's, social media, all that good stuff.
Okay. So let's start with our website. Our website is peoplesyoga.org. So peoplesyoga.org. Our Facebook is The People's Yoga LA. Our Twitter is People's Yoga LA. Instagram is People's Yoga. Am I missing anything? Oh, and our email, if you'd like to email us, you can email us at thepeoplesyoga.la@gmail.com.
And we'll definitely have all that stuff in the show notes as well, so people can connect with you.
Okay, great.
And our Instagram.
Probably the best site would just be to go to our website. At our website, we'll direct you to everything. So peoplesyoga.org.
And it has all the classes that you guys are offering on the website and all that good stuff, right? Do you guys have additional services outside of the website that you guys wanted to talk about? Because you're a musician, you're a consultant. What do you consult for?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's just get it all out there. I'm sure people are in love with you guys already, so let's just get it all out there.
I'm part of a great musical collective called Las Cafeteras. So we're Las Cafeteras. You can find us at lascafeteras.com. And we also have a very unique story where we started playing music as students, and we kind of organically grew into a band. And we most recently have, played with Juanes, Leah Downs, Edward Sharp and the Magnetic Zeros. So we've grown in this beautiful, beautiful way. And we're unique because we're a little political in a way that we sing our truth. We're generally, there's 7 members, and we're generally from the east side of LA as well, most of us. And so we sing about where we come from. We sing about the struggles and the triumphs of life in East LA.
Very cool.
And Lauren is?
Oh, I do consulting. My past life, I was a project manager for affordable housing development. So I do consulting in that field. So
Okay,
no
cool.
website right now.
Cool, but people can contact you if they're interested. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on here. We went a little over, but I was just too excited, and we got too in depth on some stuff that I just didn't want to cut short. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time to talk to our community. And of course, our community will be making contributions to your efforts. So I hope there's some benefit on that end as well. So again, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you, RevFit. Thank you for all the work that you all do. We love you all.
Yeah.
Cool.
Peace from Los Angeles.
Peace.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, hello guys. Hey yo, it's all love, but love's got a thin line.